am so glad to be back. I have been sick like a dog for the past 2 weeks, and I must say it's been absolute hell. I have recovered though, and I'm so delighted to bring you the 11th house. Before we go any further though, my name is Gigi and I am your host. I hope you're doing well, and welcome to the Jules with Gem podcast. I realized I got a new subbie. Thank you to whomever it is. I just haven't actually checked out the name of the person that has subscribed, but thank you ever so much. And if you're returning, I'm so glad to have you back. I appreciate the support. Back. I'm glad to have you back. So I'm continuing the house series, and of course we're doing the 11th house. The 12th house is also up next. I'm excited for that as well. So the 11th house, as I mentioned in my previous videos, there are a total of 12 houses, and each house is basically a segment or an area of life. So each house has a ruler, and that ruler can be any of the 12 zodiac signs. And if you can hear any dogs barking in the background, please don't mind that. The dogs tend to go a bit rogue during this time. I'm not too sure what it is. Every time I'm recording around this time, which is from 4:30 until 7 o'clock in the evening, they are always just loud and barking for whatever reason. But anyway, if you do hear them in the background, apologies about that. I do hope though that you are able to, still get my message and what I'm trying to say across. So any sign of the 12 zodiac signs can be the ruler of any house. It just depends, of course, what your ascendant sign is. And of course, the only way that we can find our ascendant sign or our rising sign, or also known as our first house, is if we actually have an idea of the correct birth time. So without the correct birth time, it's very hard to calculate exactly how the house placements fall. You can kind of, if you know the person really well, it would be easy to kind of know. But then sometimes, of course, it's just better to have the correct birth time so that it's just easier to, it's just better than assuming that, okay, the person's first house is in this sign, because the first house is, of course, just how things would naturally flow after that. So the first house is the house that sets the standard, that sets the tone, that paints the overall bigger picture of how everything is going to work out, basically. So we spoke about the 10th house in my previous video, in the last video that I uploaded, and we spoke about the fact that the 10th house is kind of a representation of the career that one would have, or it represents the themes rather of the kind of career that one would have, and also the relationship you may have with people that are, above you, or people that you may have to kind of report to, if I can put it that way. So your bosses, any authority figures, maybe your parents, people like that who have to sort of guide you in, most of the ways of life. So the 11th house is kind of where we all just come together. We forget about the troubles of the world. It's almost where we share a sense of camaraderie. It's like the downtrodden, also the underdogs, the homeless, the outcasts of society. It's like none of the labels that we actually give ourselves actually matter when it comes to the things of the 11th house, because I think ultimately as people, we kind of all want the same thing, which is to be loved and to be accepted, to be understood. All of those things that make us feel alive, all of those things that make us feel like we are included. I would say that this is the house of inclusion, definitely, because it is such an open-minded house. It's like anything goes. It's kind of like the same energy of the 12th house, because the 6th, 11th, and 12th house really are the houses of service. Not exactly service as in, especially when it comes to the 11th house, it's not really service as in I'm sort of obligated to do this for you. This is more a we're on the same page kind of a thing, and we're all one, and we all understand the assignment, if I can put it that way. It's a coming together of shared dreams, of shared visions, of goals, of all of those types of things. It also represents the types of friends that you may have around you. It's just really, like I said, the house of inclusion. And I always think of the John Lennon and Yoko, the Yono Oko, excuse me. What was that thing that they were having? I think it was called Bed Peace. I think it was Bed Peace, actually. Or that famous picture of theirs where they're sitting in the bedroom and it's just them two and it's a bunch of reporters and they literally just in bed. And they did that I always think of it as a way of them being rebellious towards society, because how often do people take pictures of themselves with their partners in their bed? It's something that's very unorthodox. It's not the norm. It's very shocking, to the person that may be a bit closed-minded or conservative, which is kind of a paradox considering that Aquarius in its nature, and the 11th house, Aquarius, actually is ruled by Saturn. So it's like, it's shocking, but sometimes it can be controlled type of shocking. But going back to the John Lennon and Yono Oko analogy, I always think of that picture of theirs where they just literally in bed and it's literally a silent protest. Like, it does not get any more silent than that. And then of course I also think about the video by Janae Aiko that was inspired by John Lennon and Yono Oko. So the music video Bed Peace. So this is really just a coming together of ideas, a way of how we can change the world literally together. It's the house of unison. This is where we realize we're not alone. This is where we realize that, okay, yeah, we may have differences in appearance, our circumstances may be different and all of that, but I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is that we all have the same physiological makeup. We all have muscles, we all have skeletons, we all have, a heart, we all have lungs, we all have all of those bodily functions working for us every single second of the day to keep us alive. So really, there is no difference between, you and me. And of course, that is amazing. That is unique, because that's where we get our different quirks from. That's where we get our different personalities from, because if we were all the same, that would be completely boring. And 11th house and Aquarius energy is just... boring is just not the word, to use to describe this type of energy, to describe this house, to describe Aquarius, period, to describe Uranus, period. In its nature, it's already so vastly different. But if you'd like to know more about Uranus, do check out my video on Uranus, where I'm explaining the things that make Uranus so unique and so awesome. So Uranus is the natural ruler of the 11th house, and of course it's associated with the sign Aquarius, and so is Saturn. So Uranus is the co-ruler, and then you have it working together with Saturn. So it's a very conservative yet rebellious yet open-minded yet not as restrictive as you would think it is type of energy, which can be very confusing, because Aquarius is known for being edgy, off the wall, sort of rebellious, different, very eccentric. I could literally go on and on. And then you have Saturn energy, which is kind of like very rigid, which is more about rules and how things should be done, and they know exactly what they should be doing, and they really try to do things by the book. So you can only imagine what goes on in the mind of an Aquarius. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I myself have Sun conjunct Uranus, so I definitely understand this energy to a T. I definitely understand this energy in its fullest, if that is even a word, in its full capacity to the ninth degree. I feel this energy. So I think one of the things that I've picked up on is that the 11th house is also where we're able to create our own families. Like, of course, we have, our normal inherited families, like, your sister, your brother, immediate family, mom, dad, sister, brother, and then, of course, distant family, cousins, and so forth, aunts, uncles. But I think this is more the chosen family. Like, you choose, okay, these are the people that I want to keep, close to me, because, of course, there are certain circumstances where you're just not that close to family, or you're just not understood, and so you have certain individuals who may not necessarily be family that you choose to be close to. So this is where we really have an opportunity to choose our family, and most of the time our family, especially the chosen family, is more friends that we've known for a long time, or that we really hit it off with, that we really feel understood with, our best friends, or even just somebody that of, that you guys may not speak for a really long time, but when you do speak, it's like there was never a moment that that went by. It's literally just picking off right off where you left off. I don't know why my mind is so jumbled up today, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Picking off where you left off. Yeah, you guys. Otherwise, we're going to do this the whole day. But yes, picking off where you left off. I think I said it right the first time. But, this is also the house where the love that we give back is reciprocated. So any energy that we put out into the world, this is where we get it back, or this can show you the sign that actually reciprocates your energy. So if, for example, you have Aries in the 11th house, so besides you having friends that really know what they want, that are quite, go-getters, that may be particularly aggressive when it comes to their goals, may be very overprotective, may sometimes be a little bit obnoxious. Besides all of that, I think with Aries being here, it just basically means that you're gonna have friends, or Aries are the people that will reciprocate your energy when it comes to family, when it comes to when it comes to friends, when it comes to your goals, when it comes to anything that you really want to do with people, then these are the people that will reciprocate that energy, or will understand what it is that you're trying to do. So your friends may have these qualities, or they may even be Aries, or be first house dominant, or be Mars dominant. So it just all depends, of course, like how everything is aspected, but majority of the time this is how it is. Or just like it may show the types of friends that you attract, because I have Pisces in the 11th house, and a lot of my friends are very odd. And I don't mean odd like odd in a bad way. I just mean odd in a way that it would be very hard for me to have a party with everybody there, because I just feel that I resonate with certain people on different levels. That's just kind of what it is. But every single friendship that I do have with my friends is just very heartfelt. I really feel a lot of energy when it comes to them. They feel me and what I'm trying to do, and a lot of the time the energy can be reciprocated. Of course, sometimes people do take advantage, because that is the nature of Pisces. People don't really know how to handle Pisces. But I've also noticed that I attract a lot of musicians, I attract a lot of artists, I attract a lot of people, or I do know of a lot of people that are in the public eye, that I probably went to school with, or that I was actually friends with, acquaintances and things of that nature. So that really does explain a lot. But anyway, we're not talking about the 12th house or Pisces energy. This is just, like I said, this house is just realizing that we all can relate to something, or at the very least that we can empathize with one another. Like I said, this is the house where any energy that we give back is reciprocated by the sign that is ruling this particular house. So as I mentioned before, we forget the color of our skin, and we just remember that we all share one thing in common, and that is love, and how love is the dominant force in bringing everything together. Love is like that glue that literally keeps everything. And in this house, we realize that if everyone pulls their weight, really, the world could work better. We could work better. We could achieve more. Basically, two heads are better than one kind of a thing is really what resonates in this house. We remember that we are all a human race. This is the house of collaboration, honestly, shared ideas, goals, and visions for the future. Can you imagine if we all had an 11th house perception of the world, and we just worked together and we got things done, and we didn't need certain authorities to tell us what we feel we should be doing, or what we feel is right, or what we feel is just and fair, and our main foundation was just based on love. It would be totally amazing. It would really be amazing. So you can already imagine the type of people that I'm actually talking about. And I'm not saying that every Aquarius is like this, but I'm just saying majority of Aquarian people, or Aquarian natured people, or Uranian type people really do have this open-mindedness, and know that even though they might be disagreeing with somebody, it doesn't mean that they have to not listen to them or not like them. It just means that they have a different opinion, and that's that. It doesn't mean that they have to stop being friends with the person. They're very amicable like that. They're very open-minded. Like I said, they can have their own opinions without... People can have their opinions about them even, and them not really breaking into a sweat at all, because they stand firm in what they believe in. So I really love this energy. I really love that about Aquarians, and really they should just keep it up for the rest of us to see and look at and observe and aspire to be. And also another thing I wanted to mention about the 11th house, well, not even the 11th house per se, but what I wanted to mention in this particular video is that we are living in the age of Aquarius, and that should already speak volumes to the type of themes that I am talking about when it's relating to the 11th house. Considering what is currently happening in the world globally, it's not really hard to see the themes of Uranus. It's not really hard to see its influence on how things are currently being done. Besides it being the house of shared ideas, it also rules technology, and it rules social interactions as well. So it's interesting to note how the world has literally become a global village, with social media, advanced technological devices. Really, the list is virtually endless. And the pun is very much intended there. So we now, it's almost as if I even think sometimes that we could be entering into a new type of technology. We are entering into, there's just something new, every single day, every other week, every other month, a new product, a new device, a new this, a new that. All of, even labels, even the way we label ourselves, there's always something new coming up, as if it's something new. I just think maybe it being new, or it coming to the surface in this reality, it may be perceived as new, but I think it's always been in existence. We just haven't found a way to kind of fit it into our current reality. So I think there's a lot of things that are currently laying dormant, and because of this Uranus energy, we are currently now finding ways to actually make use of all of these things that are just popping up, because honestly, it is just sensory overload. There is just a lot to deal with in this current age. There is a lot, and I don't even have to tell you guys that. Of course, you're experiencing it for yourself. I'm sure if you just look around your house, you could just look into your palm right now. Whatever you may be listening to, however you may be listening to this podcast right now is just, just a picture of how far we've actually come. I mean, I remember listening to my favorite songs on a CD Walkman, and I had to walk around with this big thing, like, daily. And I had to put it in my bag because, of course, it didn't fit into my pocket. But now, literally, I remember even getting the iPod clip-on for my birthday the one time, and I was just so relieved because all of my favorite songs were on there. It was so easy to fit anywhere. Literally, I could just clip it on my jersey and I'm off to go. And really, we've come such a long way. Now we've got like smartwatches which can do the same thing as a cell phone. So really, I don't even have to tell you guys like how far we have come in terms of technology and social interaction. So we even have the metaverse, which kind of alludes to experience things we normally wouldn't via its platform. So the way I understand the metaverse is kind of like experiencing things that you would likely experience if you were to leave your house. Basically, that's how I perceive the metaverse to be. So it's literally like having a social life indoors, which, I don't know, hey, different strokes for different folks. But that is kind of where the world is going right now. And I don't really know what more proof you need to actually believe that, as much as astrology is considered unbelievable and folklore, and it's just, it's just a whole load of whatever, you just can't deny its evidence in the real world, in our current world. And I think I almost find it uncanny that all of these developments are happening in this time, because it's just so absolutely fitting. Almost everything is becoming digital, virtual, or just exists because of artificial intelligence. Things that took forever can now be accessed with just a touch of a button. Having friends globally without having stepped out of your house is like the new thing. It's not taboo to have a friend from Russia whom you met online on Facebook or Instagram. Like, it's not unusual for that to be the case, so even finding a mate, guys, you can find somebody online. We've got dating platforms. Hello. I don't think I need to exacerbate this any further. I think we all can see, the influence of Uranus and Aquarius in this regard. So, nothing is really shocking anymore. I think it's just shocking because it's unusual. I think it's shocking because it's unorthodox. I think it's shocking because we are now finding solutions to problems, which really is what makes the world go round, which really is what makes people money. If you're able to solve a problem, you will always be able to make money. You will never be without money. So Uranus in that aspect really is a leader. And that is how an Aquarius becomes a leader, because they are able to creatively source problems. They are able to creatively find solutions to things. So really, this is awesome energy. If you do have, any Uranus placements, any placements in the 11th house, I would imagine that this is the type of energy you exude. People may perceive you as shocking, but you're like, it is what it is, so that really is what Uranus 11th house energy is about. It's about making things relatable, making things accessible as quickly and maybe even as shockingly as possible. This is the razzmatazz house, where you're not afraid to be who you feel you should be, who you feel you're meant to be. This is really the house of purpose. I think along with the 9th house, the 11th house is just that house of being like, okay, this is who I feel I need to be, and I'm not going to run away from it, and I'm going to stand by it no matter what. Case closed. So, I mean, I've mentioned before that I admire Aquarians because of this, because, I naturally look up to them, because Aquarius does rule my 10th house. So I feel that they're very intelligent. I feel that they have a way of solving problems before they even become problems. They have a way of thinking about things and being like, okay, I think this would ultimately be a problem in the future. How do we fix it? That is somebody who has Aquarian energy about them, because their energy is not, it may be fixed, but it's air. You can't contain air. So it's able to reach places that Earth sometimes can't reach or think of or imagine or creatively find solutions to, because, you know, Earth is kind of fixed in the ground. It's, you know, it's everywhere, but it is just there. Air is kind of everywhere. You know, it's something that you can't even see, literally. So it's able to permeate different headspaces, different thought patterns, different psychological patterns as well, or behaviors even. So it's widespread, it's relatable. Yeah, so that's really what makes them so beautiful inside and out. And also the fact that they're just so friendly. Like, have you ever come across an Aquarius that just was like not friendly? Maybe nonchalant, but definitely friendly. This is also the house that, you know, will have an opinion on something, and, you know, whether people agree with them or not is just kind of like none of their business, honestly. That's just kind of how they perceive it. That's just totally on you. And it's not even that they don't care. Of course they care. I mean, this is the house of this house represents humanity. This is, you know, the humanitarian house. So of course they care. They just don't care enough for your opinion to persuade them on a different path, you know, or a different argument, or a different lifestyle, or whatever difference it is that you're trying to, you know, implement into their life. And like I said, Aquarius is fixed in nature. So even though they are an air sign, they are still quite fixed in their ideologies, in the things that they choose to do. They know exactly why they are doing them, and they are smart about it. They are intelligent about it. And for them, it's like, I don't need to explain why this is the best choice, or why this is the best argument, or why this is the best lifestyle. They just kind of do their own thing and they stick to it, and life goes on, pretty much. And whether or not people are with them, that's for people to decide for themselves, really. So like I said, they are extremely open-minded, and they will listen to your opinion. They definitely will listen to your opinion for days, and you will even think that you have them. Oh, you will have them. You will have their attention, but you will not have them to the point where they will be like, okay, well, I think I may have to think. No, they will still maintain their argument. They will still maintain their lifestyle. They will still maintain whatever it is, until they come to realize that whatever it is that they are doing or that they are participating in is not serving them. And only then will they come to a realization that, okay, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't do this. So a lot of people with planets in this house can become really, you know, definitely open to other people's views, but very opposed to changing their minds. So they can change other people's minds, but it's very hard to change themselves. So they're always looking to change other people's minds. They're always looking to, and I don't want to say convince or influence, but they just have that within them. They just have that nature that just makes them quite influential, or very they basically make things sound nice. Like, let me just put it like that. They make things sound nice. So you know, because even I've noticed that, you know, with them being so open-minded, their energy allows them to flow. So air, of course, just flows wherever. It's like water. It just flows kind of wherever, in whichever direction. But I think a lot of the times, this is especially why you'll find that a lot of musicians are Aquarius or even Gemini. And then we'd have Libra, who would be more attuned to kind of like the aesthetics of things, like making things look a certain way. And then Gemini Aquarius is more concerned with how things are, the facts, and how they perceive them and how they usually perceive things. It's so easy for them to influence other people because they think about things in a way that is unorthodox, in a way that people have not perceived it. So definitely big ups to them. They would obviously make the best salespeople. They make the best writers. They make the best musicians. Hello, need I say anymore? I don't even need to name them, but I'm sure you guys will, let me know in the comments like who exactly I'm talking about. But Gemini and Aquarius, this is definitely their stance. This is how they perceive things to be, and even though they might not feel that way, they're very open-minded in talking about these things. They may not perceive life a lot of the times in the way they speak of it, but they just know that that's what's happening around them. And there's nothing that they can do about it because it's facts. You can't change facts. Truth will always remain truth. And they're also firm believers in facts. They're firm believers in the truth. So definitely big ups to them. I love this house personally because my son has a stellium of his personal planets in this house. So it's going to be very interesting to see him grow and become who he's meant to be. And I can already tell you that at just 2 years old, he's giving me a run for my money, super independent and a leader in his own way. So like I mentioned before, I have Sun conjunct Uranus, so this does give me a very, I'd say, a playful energy with how I choose to present myself, the things I actually choose to focus my energy on, and of course I'm the oddball in my family. So there you have it, and explains quite a lot actually. Just a reminder, tubers, to of course take what resonates and leave the rest. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding or the study of astrology, and I hope you have understood a little bit more about the 11th house and its influence. In my next video, I will be discussing the 12th house and its influence in our chart and how that translates into our real waking life. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like and feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. As always, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do. So keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.